you like your mic, if you move it up like that, it stops.
Yeah, I was hearing you breathe. It's creepy, isn't it?
Die super motiviert sind, wie eine Molina Costanza aus den USA, die ganz gut mithalten kann. Und bei den Herren bin ich neugierig. Da schaut es eher nach japanischen Festspielen aus.
Eine österreichische Athletin haben wir mit dabei, unschwer zu erkennen, mit der rot-weiß-roten Fahne am Trikot. Mattia Pötzi hat es geschafft, als sie dritte nach dem Semifinale. Die Studentin der technischen Mathematik berechnet jetzt die Vorstiegsroute im Finale. Sie wird dann als drittletztes starten, daher der Start in einem Finale die umgekehrte Reihenfolge aus dem Semifinale ist. Das wisst ihr natürlich schon längst, aber wir würden uns natürlich auch freuen, wenn viele dazu kommen, die vielleicht ein-, zweimal bisher Wegklettern gesehen haben und deswegen auch diese Grundlagen einmal gehört haben wollen. Auf jeden Fall können wir sagen, da sind jetzt einige mit dabei, die auch im Weltcup schon in den Top 10 teilweise mitklettern, wie eine Momoka Abe, 8. im Gesamtweltcup im Vorstieg, letzte Saison 2021 bei den Weltmeisterschaften zum Beispiel Top 10 gegangen, 2021 sie als Studentin der Ernährungswissenschaften, sie wird vor Mattia Pötzi kommen, also da sehen wir schon Weltcup-Niveau bei den Studierenden. Kleinen Fragezeichen, Rufezeichen, Doppelpunkt für deine Bewertung.
Ja, das war ja die große Challenge für die Routenbauer. Wie baut man für eine Studentenweltmeisterschaft die Routen? Es kommen doch Leute aus sehr weit her, haben vielleicht nicht ganz das Niveau für den Weltcup. Und es hat sich herausgestellt, eher so, quasi so ein nationales Level. Und jetzt im Finale sind natürlich Leute dabei, die in den Top 10 kommen können. Das hat internationales Niveau jetzt das Finale.
70 seconds to go. Time for observation. Guys, from now on, 1 minute. The last minute of observation.
Es sind im Halbfinale auch wieder einige Tops zu verzeichnen gewesen. Bei den Herren waren es 2, bei den Damen eben keines. Aber ich bin gespannt. Aus der Qualhauser haben wir gesehen, da sind ja die 4 Japanerinnen und die Melina Costanza aus den USA alle Touren hochgestiegen. Jeder ist auf der sicher ganz gut betteln.
In der Qualifikation 4 Athletinnen, die allesamt top gegangen sind. The last 15 seconds. It's a 5, a 4, a 3, 2, 1. Observation is done. Thanks to the ladies. Thanks to the boys. Boys, we wish you the best for the upcoming competition. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand to our finalists. Yeah, good morning to everyone up here. Welcome to this 2022 Fisu World University Championship Sport Climbing League Final. We'll start with the women, followed by the men's competition. 8 athletes per gender. The top 8 after qualification and semi-final are now on in the fights for the medals. Und eine Besonderheit, die wir versuchen diesmal zum allerersten Mal aufzuführen. Ich muss gestehen, ich bin etwas nervös. Wir sind ja angehalten, nicht über Höhen zu berichten. Wir dürfen keine Punkte, keine Wertung sagen, nur Platzierungen. Wir haben uns überlegt, dass wir das vielleicht sichtbar machen, dass ihr alle, die im Zuschauerraum sitzt, zumindest Orientierungshilfen habt, wenn der Athlet nicht vor der Wand steht, also niemand irgendetwas mitbekommen hat und mitbekommen kann, eben auch nicht durch die Sprache oder den Lautsprecher, dass man das dann hier quasi visuell in die Wand zeichnen. Das ist ein Versuch und du bist mit dabei.
Ja, ich bin auch schon ganz nervös. Es soll auch Balken sein, der dann die Wand hochwandert. Wir müssen schauen, ob wir das hinbringen mit unserer Techniker da. Die Kommunikation muss ein bisschen hinhauen, aber ich bin guter Dinge.
Eine Weltpremiere. Wir wollen uns jetzt den Druck auf die eigenen Schultern nicht zu groß gestalten. Wir nennen es einfach einmal eine Weltpremiere. Die kann ja dann völlig daneben gehen und wir sind dann trotzdem stolz, es probiert zu haben. So redet man sich das positiv. Wir freuen uns jetzt auf das große Finale im Vorstiegsklettern. 6 Minuten Kletterzeit. Wenn es Exit-Platzierungen gibt, also wenn du die gleiche Höhe erreichst, zählt das Ergebnis der Vorrunde, also Semifinale. Wenn es da Exit-Platzierungen gäbe, zählt das Ergebnis aus der Qualifikation. Und nur wenn das alles equal ist, würde bei den Top 3 die Kletterzeit zählen. Aber das ist laut dem bisherigen Wettbewerbsverlauf nicht der Fall. Da werden wir über die Ergebnisse der Vorrunden jeweils zu einem Ergebnis kommen, wenn es einen Gleichstand in der Höhe gibt. We're waiting, guys, till we kick off tonight's league final. Welcome to the show of climbing in the sunny side and evening of Innsbruck. Gerade das Update hereinbekommen, dass der Start auf 19:05 Uhr festgelegt wurde. Official starting time, Women's Competition, 7:05 p.m. Das bietet uns jetzt die Möglichkeit, die Damenroute im Detail anzuschauen und auch in der gleißenden Abendsonne, lieber Reini, sehen wir das zarte Lichtlein dieses Markierungsbalkens. Beschreib uns mal ganz kurz, in welchen Sektionen wir uns hier bewegen. Gehen wir noch einmal ein bisschen zurück. Genau.
Da unten der orange Teil, violette Teil dürfte der flachste Teil in der ganzen Wand sein und dort ist sicher als Ouvertüre gedacht, einfach einmal reinzukommen. Es steigt sich dann gleich auf und wenn es mit dem Balken höher geht, diese orangen Volumes hinauf bis zu den ersten blauen Griffen, das steigt schon auf und da habe ich das Gefühl, das ist technisch anspruchsvoller, da fängt schon an zu drehen. Wenn man dann höher geht, mit dem Balken noch hinauf bis zu den gelben, da sieht man rechts, die Wand ist wieder flacher, da geht es sicher ein bisschen technischer raus und dann geht es in den steilsten Teil. Da wird die gelben Griffe anfangen und die ersten blauen an der rechten Seite raus. Wenn wir mit dem Balken noch höher gehen jetzt, ja genau, dort ist die steilste Passage vorbei und dann geht es sicher voll in die Ausdauer rein. Athletische Züge extrem weit auseinander. Alles Aufreger, wenn wir mit dem Balken noch höher gehen, jetzt oben bis zur letzten Kante, genau, da ist der steilste Teil vorbei und ganz oben dann ist der Ausstieg, der schaut mega technisch aus. Also das ist, die Damen werden das bei der Besichtigung schon gemerkt haben, ein bisschen riskante Züge und ganz oben zum Schluss der Zug auf den Top, auch noch ein bisschen offene Bewegung, super, mega spannend. Bin schon gespannt, wie das hinhaut.
Aber Frau Hasson, Roman Mehlich hätten das noch nie besser erklären können. Vielen Dank. Rainer, das ist wirklich sehr anschaulich, so dass wir auch keine Secrets verraten, aber zumindest die Charakteristik dieser Route hier herausarbeiten. Denn hören können uns ja die Athleten, aber in die Wand schauen, das haben sie in der Observation können, deswegen können wir uns auch hier zumindest groben Charakterzüge dieser Wand beleuchten. Wir sind gespannt. In diesem Topfeld der Ladies, der Rainer hat schon erwähnt, sind 4 Japanerinnen mit drinnen. 2 Ladies aus den USA. Polen ist am Start und Mattea Bötzi für Österreich. Sie kommt als die Drittplatzierte nach dem Semifinale.
Aber es ist eine Studentenmeisterschaft mit einem gewissen Limit an Alter.
Naja, die schöne, gute alte Matrikelnummer, da muss man sie über den Haufen werfen. Und wie gesagt, bis zu einem Alter, deinem zarten Alter von 25, kannst du hier deinen 4 Minutes to prepare dance.
Hearing a little better now. Yeah, I'm psyched to be here. We have a very action-packed week in between the Brixton and Innsbruck World Cups, and it's fun to fill it with some university climbing action.
I think when I turned up to this, well, we'll talk more about what I think of this competition in a sec, because let's have a look at the top 3 qualifiers from earlier on semi-finals.
Nächste Saison.
Auf geht's, Georg! Auf geht's! Und Mattea! Ali! Ali!
Teilnehmer mehr gewesen.
Aber das Großartige, wir werden sie noch nächste Woche sehen, denn der Weltcup wird ab nächster Woche Dienstag und mit einem noch nie dagewesenen Teilnehmerfeld von insgesamt 800 Athletinnen und Athleten hier in die Bühne gehen. Wir haben die Paraglider hier, Speed, Mid und Boulder. Nächste Woche der große Gesamtklasse, der Weltcup der allgemeinen Klasse hier in Innsbruck. Und ich habe schon gehört, für den Finaltag, das ist der Sonntag, gibt es glaube ich nur noch eine Handvoll Tickets. Boulder gibt es noch ein bisschen was, Paragliding gibt es noch ein bisschen was, also für schnell entschlossene man darf früh zugreifen für nächste Woche.
Hopefully you guys can hear me. We're having a little problem with audio in the box, but I think we're okay now. It's a bit strange for us. So welcome to the men and women's finals here in Innsbruck, Austria. So Quinn, we were talking about this competition. I was saying how when I came into it, I thought university meant almost like youth climbers. And yet we have got 8 men and 8 women tonight, and all of them have had some kind of input into an IFSC competition. These are high-class athletes, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really cool to see the range of abilities we have here, all of them being quite high class, but cool to see some World Cup experienced athletes competing on this level, as well as a few names that we maybe haven't heard before.
Absolutely, it's going to be an exciting one. We had the semi-finals earlier today, and we're currently looking at the trophy. And this is a special trophy made by Linz University, who won a competition to make this trophy. That's a little story for you. So that's the trophy and the medals, and that's our wall. And Quinn, I mean, straight away we're looking at something in the sun. This could be an issue, couldn't it?
Yeah, we've been hoping that it was going to move out of the sun, but it's been in the sun for a good few hours now. It'll be interesting to see if any of those holds have heated up. In particular, the darker black holds that we see on this wall could definitely be roasting in the sun right now.
Absolutely, and the floor's black itself, so that's going to be far in the heat upwards. The men's is on the left of your screen, the women's on the right. And the men's, as you can see, I mean, complicated, I think, is the word for that.
Yeah, we saw this section of the wall used earlier for the semi-final. That really steep section in the middle where those big yellow and blue volumes are proved to be very confusing for the women, and it'll be interesting to see if the men struggle to navigate it as well.
Yeah, and we can see some nasty holds. You've just passed a dual text volume that I reckon is going to play quite a big part. That's the top. No real idea how that goes either. And the women's, again, very difficult, quite crimpy in the middle section, and then slopey, pinchy down low. So, guys, if you've been watching this Fisu World University Championship, you'll understand the format. It's a bit of a different comp from a normal IFSC, and not all the graphics we usually have is up on screen. So myself and Quinn have lots of pieces of paper where we'll be trying to keep track of the score. Because right now, Lenoha Kume is out onto the stage to begin her competition. And we'll be keeping a track of that. Now, not too experienced in terms of IFSC style events. She was active in Voronezh, where she happened to win the juniors category. So someone who's well used to winning, high quality. And now she comes out in first in our finals. She's qualified straight away off to a fairly easy start down the low.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Hard to tell what these next volumes look like. Whenever you have a small hold added to a volume, it changes how it feels. Not even the athletes are probably aware of how this section is going to feel.
Now, we're talking about the heat. You can see the sun in her eyes. Is there anything she can really do from that, apart from obviously chalking up a lot? Has she got any tips or tricks you think she'll be doing backstage?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the increased use of fans behind stage, people using electric fans to try and cool down their skin and their body, but there's not really much you can do once you get on the wall. Every now and then we'll see an athlete compete in sunglasses, but I don't know if we'll see that this evening.
I have never seen that, and I really want to see that.
It's a fun sight, but I'm sure the sun is getting in her eyes a little bit right now. We'll see how well she can handle that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because it pops around corners in there straight into the sun, and right now she's got high heel hooks in, rolling up. And we're so used to seeing the Japanese team dominating the senior circuit, and it seems to be the same way with the university scene as well.
Yeah, it's cool to see the athletes that they sent. Some of them have experience on the adult circuit, some of them not, but all of them seem to be that common dominant climber that we're used to seeing from this team.
Absolutely, and Lenoha is about a third of the way up right now. It's a massive Innsbruck wall. She presses out, climbing nice and steadily at the moment.
Yeah, she looks really great on this wall. It's about to kick back and get a little bit steeper, maybe a bit more physical in this next section.
Yeah, you can see it, those quick draws hanging, showing how steep this wall is. I mean, Quinn, you've been here a lot, you train on this wall. It seems to go on forever, doesn't it, when you're on it?
It really does. I think whenever a team comes to train here, it takes a bit for the athletes to adjust to this wall. So a lot of these athletes probably haven't been on this wall for a while, and it can really hit you hard.
So Lenoha to jump up onto that sloper, which I would imagine feels disgusting in this heat right now. And you can see not really spending a lot of time on it, even though it's not a bad hold, and bumping out left to another sloper. And then a toe hook. This is really going to be energy sapping.
Yeah, this section is definitely proving to be quite powerful.
So now she begins the journey up towards the right-hand side. Again, quite a complex route. weaves around like it does a lot on this Innsbruck wall. Seems to be quite a theme of the route setters. And she's really milking this opportunity to rest, as she should do, because there isn't much coming up.
It'll be tough for the athletes to navigate these blue volumes. A lot of them have holds added to them, and it's not always easy to see where they are from the ground.
Yeah, you can see a very high heel in, a bit of a Japanese trademark that. And again with the left, and she'll rock high up towards that yellow sloper. Now the bolts here are blocked, as you can see around the bolt. That's to prevent the athletes standing on them and incurring a penalty, and it's such a good idea, coming in more and more. Which is good. We don't want to see anyone being disqualified for a mistake. So Nanoha rests her way up. She's on the final third here. Remember, this is an athlete who's used or can win competitions. So although she's coming out last, she has a real opportunity to take a podium place or even a gold medal here tonight.
Yeah, she's looking wonderful on the wall right now. We definitely saw a few slightly lower falls on the semi-final climb. So just because she's coming out last definitely it's not a statement of her ability.
Now we've got a clock up. Thank you for that, guys. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. That's counting down. I don't think this is going to be a route where time is really a factor.
No. But she's looking great as she moves towards the final head wall of this climb. The holds are definitely about to get slopey again. That blue hold that she's going for, I'm sure, has been heating up really nice in the sun for her. So.
Absolutely. Now, we were talking about that big purple one down the bottom left, and we were having the handhold, no handhold debate, and she's about to settle it for us. What do you think?
Yeah, it's...
Oh, she's not going to settle it for us. We'll have to wait.
That move definitely looks like one where we might lose another climber later on, but we shall see.
Because we had a route in the semi-finals where a big purple one like that was actually a toe hook, and yet a lot of the athletes were using it as a handhold. That can cause trickiness with the scoring system.
Yes, it definitely can. And this evening, it seems like it has been potentially added as a handhold, but we don't know for sure if athletes will end up using it. It could end up causing some interesting separation later on if this section proves to be a crux.
Absolutely, and that was the first cut loose move, swinging out. Did that nicely and then went higher up onto it to rest.
It looks like her hand maybe slipped a bit there as she was falling, but still a great effort from Nanoha.
Yeah, it was a good sighter, 3/4 of the way up. Next out is, well, certainly from I was about to say your teammate, and yet it doesn't quite work like this in terms of this. There are some of these athletes who might be competing on the World Cup circuit, but none of these guys, I don't think so, are currently on the circuit. Or, well, actually we've got, what am I talking about, because Melina is coming out later on. So some of them teammates, some of them not.
Yeah, Emily actually competed at the Salt Lake City Bouldering World Cups just a few weeks ago and is local to Salt Lake. So she's pretty familiar with a lot of the team. A lot of the team lives and trains in Salt Lake City now, her being one of them.
Yeah, it's another example of this really good Team USA at the moment that's just coming through. And it's been building for a couple of years with you guys, and yeah, the breakthroughs happening all over the place, so good to see. And Emily up to a solid start straight away. Is this the kind of route that will suit her, do you think?
She was definitely pleased with the semi-final style. She's really, really physically strong, quite good at bouldering, and so I think that if she can get higher into this steeper section that's coming up, she'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because the bouldery section is, well, near the top, isn't it? And you've got to have the endurance just to get there to enjoy the bouldery bit.
Yeah, so I know that she hasn't been able to be on a rope quite as much as she would have liked before coming to this event, but she's an amazing climber. She's been climbing for years and years, part of the Team ABC contingent out of Boulder, Colorado, that we know famous climbers like Brooke Rabatou from, so she has plenty of experience.
Well, she's underway well here. So she's into the corners right now, and it's difficult with these angles because sometimes they look good, like the one she's on underneath of that right knee. You could maybe undercling, she's not choosing to, but it's quite difficult to read those from the ground.
It is definitely, and
that's quite thumb in a bolt hole.
Yeah.
That is allowed, isn't it, unless they block it?
Yes, and it can be so pivotal as to whether or not a hold feels good or not. Yeah, bolt holes on holds are allowed, but bolt holes on volumes are not allowed, which can get confusing because screw holes on volumes are allowed, but it's this whole intricacy that the climbers learn well in order to be able to take advantage of.
Ah, yes, I was just about to just lose Emily from that slope,
Yeah.
but that could be an indication how slippery that is.
Yeah, I'm sure that one has been heating up really nice in the sun.
Yeah. I know how I made it look pretty simple when she did it, but we both of us, I think, both me and Quinn, just gritted our teeth on that one because it's
Yes.
just so hot here.
And it can be difficult if you're jumping to a hold that you maybe aren't super familiar with on a sport route like this. It's hard to be familiar with every single hold that is used, and so maybe saw a little bit of that there.
Yeah, she was fully on it as well, had the arm wrapped over the top, and yet
Yeah.
just seemed to peel off it all the way backwards, looking up as if, what on earth happened there? Look at that Innsbruck backdrop. If you're just joining us, hello and welcome to the men and women's finals for the University Games. My name is Matt Groom, and I'm joined by Quinn Mason here in the commentary box. And Quinn doesn't even need to be here. She's not even doing World Cup, she's just training, so I thank her for her expertise here. So we've had two athletes. Next up is Ida Kups from Poland. Now how this is working here tonight, we have the full women's comp, and then the men's comp is scheduled to start at 8 o'clock, which I thought was a bit optimistic, but they are very convinced it's going to go to time, so we're aiming for 8 o'clock. And to be fair to them, they're on track at the moment, so that's the schedule for tonight. So Ida Kups, off she goes from Poland. Her last comp was in 2019, so it was European Championship. So an athlete perhaps not as experienced on the World Cup scene as some of the others.
Yeah, we're definitely getting a good number of experienced athletes out here, but because this is the University Games, we are also getting those athletes who maybe competed a bit more in their youth and then transitioned a bit more into their studies, but maintained their climbing abilities and are now here to show them off. So it's fun to see some athletes that we maybe wouldn't get to see otherwise.
I mean, obviously they've got complete quality because they've made it to the finals, but how intimidating is it going against people that you know to be day in, day out pros?
I bet it's intimidating for sure, but I would hope it's more just exciting for these athletes to gain the experience.
Yeah, I think that's right. It can be quite intimidating climbing in front of a pro. I attempted it yesterday in the gym, but I've got to pick my people I climb up against.
Yeah, sometimes even in your warm-up a little bit, you're like, ooh, I don't want to try this move if I'm not warm enough to do it. I don't want to look bad in front of my competitors.
I just went and hit the changing room. It's a bit different. Right, so high heels from Ida. And she's, that's a good move, a rock over onto that heel, but she did it beautifully.
Yeah, she's really using her footwork to her advantage here, helping take a little bit of weight off the hands, hopefully make these moves feel a bit easier. Oh, and maybe finding a knee bar in there.
Yeah, she got it, but it looks so awkward to clip, and there she brings the rope to the right side. Better remember, you have to clip all the quick draws as you go. You can skip them, go past them and reach back down, but there's a point where you can't go any further, so you have to have them in, and sometimes we've seen that play a part. Static, oh, and then drops the sloper.
Maybe not quite control of that one, or maybe control, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting because we saw that jump from Manoha and both of us cringed, and yet then we saw a jump from Emily, which failed, and then Ida's static approach, that doesn't work either.
Yeah, Ida really showed us how bad that sloper is there, because she was able to go to it in a pretty controlled manner, but still wasn't quite able to hold it, so I don't know how it really made that move look perhaps easier than it actually is.
Yeah, and she's way out in the lead at the moment. So, potential podium play from our first athlete out, and yes, that was the sloper. Had a hand, you're right, Quid, fully wrapped around that. I'd love to see her feet. Maybe it was a foot pop, but I think she just slid off it. So, Ida is done. And next up is your teammate, Melina. Now, when I arrived the other day, and I was talking to people about people I should keep my eye on, her name kept coming up as someone to watch. Why is that at the moment? Is she just on form?
Yeah, Melina is a really great climber. I actually grew up with her on the same youth team, so I've known her for years and years and years. But she has plenty of experience on the youth competition scene, and then she really rocketed herself into the U.S. competition scene in this last year. starting about a year ago, she won a lot of our national cup events, and then in lead at our 2 national events, she placed first and second. So she's very good at lead climbing, as well as bouldering, to be fair. And she qualified for the full World Cup circuit for both bouldering and lead. She's done a few bouldering World Cups, and then actually sprained her ankle at the first Salt Lake World Cup and recovered from that, but then chose to spend the next few weeks skipping out on the Brixton World Cup and just training lead. And I've heard that she's looking really, really good on a lead wall. I got to watch her earlier, and she definitely looked pretty good in the semis. I know it wasn't quite everything she was hoping for, but...
Well, I mean, she was obviously in strong form. Salt Lake, her last comp, 41st in boulder. I mean, that's strong straight away. And she's building in that endurance training into it, then, yeah, she's one to watch. So, Melina cruising through the first half of the route here. Reaches up high to make those clips. In this crimpy section, she's just accelerating through.
Yeah, she's keeping a really nice pace through this bottom section. Often on lead routes, it's a good strategy to try and move quickly through the bottom and save your energy for the top, where moves likely get a little bit harder.
Maybe that will be something to play when the new scoring system comes in, because not all the holds will be scored in the new combined system. So we can see athletes doing exactly that, just moving very quickly for the first part. But there's quite a good rest here. Good position for it. Should be able to get a high foot in. Stand up nice and tall.
Melina approaching.
Oh, but a big foot pop there on that rest. Oh, I think it might be scarier to watch than if you were on the wall.
Yeah, you can see her smile from here, almost jokingly, I guess. Glad that she was able to recover from that, and now she's working into this crux move where we've lost a few competitors. Wow, holding that with 2 hands.
Yeah, but she's got quite a low clip here, and this is tricky to do off that sloper. But she does manage it, dropping back down, and now manages to chalk up off it. So it seems like once you've got it, it is able to use it. Same stretch, what's it called? Not a stretch, a split move there. Oh, and bumping up and resting onto it.
Flexibility definitely is an important part in lead climbing. It just allows you to get into better, more efficient resting positions.
Yeah, I often think a lead comp is just about finding those rests. Sort of like do a bit of climbing, desperately find a rest. And we see route setters deliberately taking rests out of routes. I saw it a lot last year in the World Cups. It's just relentless.
Yes, this section of the climb, you can definitely sneak in a few shakes, but the way that these blue volumes are spread out, it'll force the athletes to keep moving when they're getting a bit tired. And this is the steepest part of the climb for the women.
So Nanoha got a little further. She got one draw, I think, further, up near the purple there. So that big purple volume you can see, that's the area that she fell. So Melina's in second place at the moment.
Yeah, Melina's slowly approaching a high point. Looking good, but definitely maybe a bit of fatigue starting to creep in.
Yeah, she's finding rest wherever she can here.
Heel hooks seem to be really, really important on this climb.
She has to bump the hands up here. She's missing a screw on, getting closer and closer to it, but she's still not on it. And I think having been left pumped, she would have gone all the way through to that screw on.
Still a really great climb from Melina. Looking maybe a little bit disappointed, but we'll have to see how the rest of the field holds up on this climb.
Yeah, she's in second place at the moment. If you're watching on YouTube, there is a comment going on. Do leave us a comment. It's nice to chat with you guys. You can help us keep updated on the scores. Oh, we have got a score. So there's a scoreboard that is coming up. So yeah, scoreboard and screen, and we'll keep you updated as we go along. So this is a replay of Melina down low. This is the crimpy part of the route.
Giving us a good insight of how small some of these holds are in the beginning of the climb. Just there to get the athletes tired for the upper section.
Yeah, there's different sections the route setters are building in now. Often we get these routes really split up, and by colours sometimes as well. It's a very distinctive sections. It makes it nice and easy to commentate on. And I guess as an athlete as well, you can kind of break it down in your head perhaps a little bit more.
Yes, it is super helpful. We didn't see quite as much of this here, but there's been more of a trend in the route setting of lead climbs to have sections broken up by even hold sets. So we saw a little bit of that on this climb, and it is helpful to break it down in your head as an athlete to the powerful section, the grippy section, maybe a recovery somewhere in there.
Right, Momoko Abe comes out. There's our scoreboard on the top left, so that's good news. So Momoko Abe, I mean, what else do you say about her 10th in the World Champions? This is an athlete who will be challenging for a podium place without a doubt. Can she put pressure on Nanoha Kume, her teammate, who was up in 37, around about the whole, 31 plus is the high score we're aiming for here. So, Momoko gets underway. And the stadium is starting to become more shady. It's getting there. I feel like we need to keep them updated on the heat situation.
I'm sure those holds are still not recovered from their time spent in the sun, but it'll be a little bit nicer for the athletes now that the sun is maybe not shining in their eyes.
Someone told me in South Korea when I was doing the commentating that hot brushes were a problem, and it's something I'd never thought about.
Yeah, I wonder if hot quick draws could be a problem.
Hot chalk.
I've never really thought about that either, but...
Yeah, anything that makes your hands sweat is to be avoided on this stuff. So, Moko with a very high left heel. Again, wrestling her way through this. And one of the advantages of all these volumes is it allows lots of opportunities to toe and heel hook along the way.
Yeah, I've seen more heel hooks on this climb than I think you generally get to see on. Ooh, struggling a little on that move there, but making it work.
So I know no one wants to talk about grades, but for people who are sitting at home thinking, look, at my local climb wall, what would this be? I was told once that World Cups for women was more like sort of 8B plus, 8C for the finals. Is that the kind of difficulty you've heard of, or is it easier or harder usually than IFSC World Cup?
I think it's getting harder and harder. That might be a little bit on the easy side right now, at least compared to grades that I've seen in the KI here, the Kvartcentrum.
Oh, great move.
I won't give away too many details, but I've definitely seen some of the women athletes on-sighting really hard climbs. So
Oof.
I think it's just so hard in general, though, to put a grade on a competition-style climb.
Yeah, and it's a cheeky question. I know it's almost impossible. It's just people ask me all the time, and I can never really answer them, so I want someone else to answer it, so I don't have to. But yeah, I mean, we're talking, like, realistic, we're talking harder than anything you'd see in a gym ever. This is next level stuff, and on-site, remember.
Yes, and as we know, Momoko is a very talented climber with her World Championships placement being so good. So these climbs are definitely probably pretty close to being on par with the World Cup and World Championship level for the senior athletes.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we've got them here. I mean, she was 4th in Villars 2021. Like, I mean, she is a legit World Cup competitor. So yes, for the route setters, this is another day at the office, really, isn't it? Setting a hard one, and that's a good position to rest in there. And you have to say, she's looking fresh at the moment. But she has to be, because the boulder part is coming up next.
Yes, it's always interesting. It's hard to know what a climber's style is. Some climbers just look really, really good until they eventually just pop off. Some are kind of the opposite. And some are a little bit more gradual. Like, you start to see those elbows come up slowly, slowly.
Oh, there we go. I mean, from nowhere, she fell. I think it might... she's holding her head like it was a mistake, but I didn't see a slip.
Yeah, it looked like she maybe could have just missed that small little yellow hold on that blue volume.
Hopefully we're going to see this moment where she fell once more. So cruising at this stage, I mean, commentators cursed just after I said she was looking fresh, she fell. Sorry about that. I mean, look, that move, which we've seen 2 athletes fall on, cruising it, with no feet.
Definitely giving us a look, though, of how bad that sloper is.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if we will get to see a replay, but if we do, we'll be able to check that out. She leaves the stage for now. Momoko Abe will go and wait. Only a couple more women left now. 3 to go. And Nanoha Kuma, here is the fall. This is what we're going to see. This is good. So she went up. Yeah, just a bit low on it. I mean, she had the tick mark.
Yeah, her fingers just weren't quite able to close around that hold. Sometimes when you get fatigued, it just feels like your hands don't quite communicate with your brain as well as you want them to.
Yeah, you reach that terminal pump place, don't you? It doesn't matter what size the jug is, you're never coming back from it.
Yep.
So Mattea Pozzi is out next from Austria. The Austrian team has been out in force, and if you are watching this thinking, I'd like to come and see this comp, it's free to get in. So if you happen to be in Innsbruck, come and watch. It won't be free for the World Cups, I don't think, so it's an opportunity to check this arena out. And the crowd immediately getting behind Mattea there.
Definitely a home favorite. She's one of the many Austrian athletes who train in Innsbruck.
Do you think it's a huge advantage for the Austrian team to have this facility right in their hometown for a lot of them?
I think it's definitely helpful. It's hard to say advantage just because we've seen so many athletes come from more humble beginnings in terms of their training resources. So I think you can really become a great climber almost no matter what you have to work with, but it would be a lie to say that it isn't helpful for them to have these amazing lead walls at their disposal.
Yeah, there's certain sort of climbing hubs in Europe, aren't there? Places where people go, especially pros, and this is one of them.
Yes, for people who don't know this gym, there's an equal size, if not larger, lead wall on the inside of the climbing gym. This is just the outdoor lead wall, so the terrain here is pretty endless.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of it over the next couple of weeks. Got the IFSC coming here next week. And right now, this is the Fisu World University Championship Sport Climbing event. And it's been great so far. We've had the speed. We had the semis for the women earlier today. And on Friday, we have the boulder semis and finals. Tomorrow is the qualifying, but no live stream for the qualifiers. We've got some good guests coming in. Quinn's joining me now. And Hannah Schubert will be coming for the boulder final on Friday. So that's my guess. And right now, Mattea is doing really good work standing up tall. And this is that moment we saw the foot pop earlier. No such problems for her.
We've seen a few athletes kind of struggle a bit with that clip, but she gets it done nicely.
It's the rope position, isn't it? It's just slightly awkward. Right, now this is the tricky move though. Hold your breaths. Oh, and she does go on it. It's almost like it looks better from the ground or from the jump than it actually is.
Yeah, and when we've seen other athletes go with two hands, it's almost like their second hand catches their first one and kind of locks it onto the sloper. It looks like holding it with one hand is quite tricky. I believe we only saw Nanoha catch that hold with just one hand.
Yeah, it does look good. It's so large, but it's the way it's sloping down. Well, let's see her down low. Had the underclings, had the crimps in.
Mattea had a really nice pace through this bottom section.
Yeah, I remember, back in a couple of years ago, people like Anak Vierhoven really struggling with the time. And I remember there was a period where it became quite a big deal. And it seems in recent years that the clock has played less and less a part of it.
I think the climbs are getting just harder and more physical, and holds are just getting turned in ways that makes it really hard to rest and use up your time. So yeah, I think that 6-minute time limit is becoming less and less of an issue.
So we have our final two athletes out. Miu is out next for Team Japan. There she is striding onto the stage, looking super determined, but that right knee is heavily taped.
Miu had the high point on the semi-final climb for a long time until her teammate Ryu took the lead. She's the climber we'll be seeing next after Miu. But
I can't remember if that knee was taped up during the semi-finals or not. I didn't think it was.
Can't remember now either. It was a very steep climb, so I wouldn't be surprised if she was heel hooking a little too hard or something along those lines.
Well, Miu Kakizaki is en route regardless of that knee, and it doesn't seem to be bothering her at the moment. And of course, I mean, she's a professional athlete. I know she'll just shut it out and get on with it. Having to reach pretty high on these moves. Out to the crimp. Quite a nice start for the athletes, I think. It's just nice and thuggy right off the go. Just let them settle in and forget about all the nerves and get climbing.
Yeah, it was interesting to see her try and lean out and spot one of those holds over the orange volume there. It's hard to navigate these volume sections when you've never been on a climb before, but all of these athletes are doing a really wonderful job of doing so.
I was chatting to Quinn before it started about how it would be good if you could go into the audience to look up because of how overhanging it is. We don't think it's allowed. But there's a hold in the men's, certainly, that is really difficult to see up there. So it's worth remembering that sometimes. If you're screaming at the screen wondering why your favourite athlete's falling off, it might be because they just can't see the hold.
Yeah, often in route preview, you're limited to a pretty small space that's generally pretty close to the climbing wall, so you can't step back and look at all the holds.
So Mew nearing the 1/3 mark, climbing fairly slowly at the moment. Or maybe we've just seen some really speedy people, but she's coming up to this first crux. And she will have no clue, of course, how many athletes have fallen on this move. So we get nervous, she doesn't have to. It's quite a good angle to show that the weirdness of the jump that she has to do to get to it. So here we go, watch that right hand. She's up into it, pulls back, but she's going to go, and she does. Spinning almost all the way around to try to get back onto the wall.
So close to holding that swing. That was honestly super impressive, but not quite from Mew.
Yeah, the problem is there's no foot to come back into. She wanted one a little higher up, tried to stand into the corner. I'm sure we'll see this in a sec. Look at this, see that feet trying to find it, and there's nothing really where she wants it. Tried to look low, didn't have the height, and by that point the arms have run out. Great effort though, fought it all the way. Look at that right hand, slipping, gone.
Well, we know it goes with just the one hand jump. It does seem like the hold is bad enough that you might need to go with both hands in order to make it feel positive.
Now we know some of our podium places here. Nanoha, Kume and Melina guaranteed a medal at this point with the 2 high points, unless something happens on appeal that we don't know about. But at the moment they're up there. So congratulations to your teammate number 1 on that medal. Let's see what colour it's going to be.
Yes, and now Ryu Nakagawa will be fighting for likely another medal position on this climb.
Yeah, she's got to get to round about hole 27. No one has topped out this women's route yet. And I don't know if you can see on the screen that light. That's actually, I'm pretty sure, being shone by Riney, who controls, well, he owns this gym. And they have, I was told it was a laser, and I presume that's the laser. I think it was more of a light beam than a laser, but that's the high point we need to get to.
Yeah, around those purple holds is the high point that Ryu will be looking to match.
So she's out on the stage, 13th in Moscow for the world champs. So another one who, I mean, is such quality there. And she was 27th in the bouldering in Moscow as well. That was her last comp. Before that, it was Kran. She was 15th. 5th in Briançon last year, so she made finals. So, World Cup competitor versus a World Cup route. Let's see what she can do here this evening. Coming up to 7:30, 7:40 almost, and the men's final starts at 8 p.m. after this, but I'll chat more as Ray gets us off the mark. Pulling through the purple hold. Looks like a giant axe, that one she's holding on to. Clipping on and into this crimpier section. The music suitably dramatic in the background here. And so it should be, because our last woman athlete is out on the wall.
Moving decently slow as well through this bottom section, but looking quite confident.
We've had the bouldering season all year. Tell me about resting. What's a good position to resting? Because it's something we don't really see when the athletes are bouldering so much.
I mean, generally you definitely want to find the best hold on the climb that you can, but the best holds on these climbs aren't all that great, so it's really just about finding the body positions to make these all not so great holds feel a bit better. Getting your hips close to the wall is really important. That's why we'll see a lot of heel hooking in lead climbing and why flexibility is such an important part of it. But each athlete is kind of different in how they like to rest. If an athlete maybe likes slopers more, they'll try and recover on a hold like that, where if they're a little bit more leaning towards crimps, then they'll find a set of crimps that will allow them to recover.
Yeah, so it's spotting it from the ground, isn't it? Working that area out where you are going to rest. She's looking a little bit uncomfortable. We know that's a nasty clip, so don't judge that too much. And now she's looking better with that left foot. There is a maybe knee bar in there, but it seemed to be kind of more trouble than it's worth to put it in. All right, here we go.
Our final athlete at the lead wall. In that section of the wall. Come on, come on. Oh yes, smart. Smart. Gebraucht. Wenn sie den hat, holt sie die Medaille. Rio Nakagawa, that brings in third position. Melina Costanza on second. And the new World University champion, Nono Hakume, the first starter of the final, is the winner of the women's lead final. Reini, du hast nicht zu viel versprochen. Da war eine der Favoritinnen gleich von ganz am Beginn, aber sowas von on fire.
Ja, deswegen habe ich schon gemeint, auch mit Mann in der Route ist zu leicht, weil die erste Kandidatin ganz raufklettert, weil die Kugel Noah hat in der Vorrunde sowas von souverän geklettert. Und auch die Melina Costanza, die hat mich schon sehr beeindruckt in den Vorrunden, und die Amis, das wissen wir alle, die sind auf dem Vormarsch. In den USA ist die Costanza Melina kein unbeschriebenes Blatt und ist dort bei den Nationals eine der ganz, ganz großen amerikanischen Kletterinnen derzeit. Nur international war sie noch nicht dabei.
Rio Nakagawa, thanks for now and congratulations! Wow, eine Entscheidung. Und wir haben 20 Minuten, 20 minutes to go till we start the men's final. Well, that was a quick decision made by Nono Hakume on the first place with 31 plus. Melina Costanza on second place, 30. Rio Nakagawa, 25 plus. One hold more than Momoka Abe. Ida Cooks on fifth. Mio Kakizaki on sixth. Mattia Pezzi on seventh. And Annie Heritage from the United States of America with the same number of holds like Mio and Mattia on 8th position, because semi-final result counts. Guys, you have time to switch if you want to have a better position to watch the men's groups. You have time to grab some fruit or a drink, and 90 minutes will be the first climber of this competition from Switzerland. Dimitri Vogt and another Japanese climbers were followed by, in the zone there will be 5 climbers from Japan, 1 from Australia, 1 from Spain, and Dimitri Vogt from Switzerland, who will open tonight's men lead final. Great to have you all here, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your stay and stay tuned.
Hello everyone, apologies about that if you're still with us. I think the technical term for what went wrong is everything went boom. It's now unboomed, so we're back. Let me catch up with what happened. So Ryu did really well, but came off about a third of the way, halfway. So bronze medal for her. Melina Constanza in silver and Nonoha Kume in first. So that's our top three. We will confirm that for you later on, but apologies about the outage then. Not ideal, obviously, but we are back in action now. But it's the end of the women's comp. So Nonoha Kume, who did so well coming out first to climb, she's finished in first. Now guys, 8 o'clock will be the men's final. So go and have a cup of tea, chill out a little bit. I'll come back on and update you from now and then, but at 8 o'clock we get going. So 15 minutes guys, and we'll start talking in about 10 minutes, so I will see you soon.
7,5 Minuten hier mit dem Männerfinale. Morgen dann um 9 Uhr in der Früh die Boulder-Qualifikation. Morgen Donnerstag 9 Uhr Boulder-Quali. Und am Freitag der letzte finale Tag dieser Studenten-Mixmeisterschaften. 10 Uhr Halbfinale Boulder, 18 Uhr Finale Boulder. Guys, a short and quick overview. We will kick off tonight's men's final in 7 minutes. Tomorrow, starting time for boulder qualification is 9 in the morning. 9 in the morning, starting time for boulder qualification. On Friday, our final day. We will kick off the semi-finals at 10 in the morning. 10 in the morning on Friday. And the boulder finals at 6 p.m. on Friday. So get everything prepared, ladies and gentlemen. And be ready for the second final decision of today. 6 minutes, 30 seconds to go. We will start with the 8 best athletes of lead men. Nützen wir die Zeit, gönnen wir uns einen kleinen Informationsvorsprung. Wenn wir eigentlich schon hier haben, dann schauen wir mal auf die Kletterroute der Männer. Ein Grobcharakteristik dessen. Also was würdest du in ein Facebook- oder Instagram-Profil dieser Route schreiben, wenn du sie möglichst gut bewerten möchtest? Du kannst sie auch auf Kinder stellen, um hier Rechtswischer zu kriegen. Was kann diese Route?
Ja, wenn wir uns unten den unteren Teil anschauen, das sind die ersten blauen, größeren Strukturen. Da sind ganz kleine Griffe drauf geschafft. Also das ist sicher etwas, was die Power zieht. Das ist mega athletisch, man wird sich wahrscheinlich sehr viel winden müssen, auch ein paar Stützelemente sind drinnen, so wie es ausschaut. Und dann, wenn man jetzt nochmal mit Balkenhöhe geht, kommt es in den nächsten Ausstieg hinein, in die nächsten beiden Griffe. Da schaut es aus, als ob die letzte Kraft gerissen werden. Wer gar keine Power mehr hat, der tut sich dann bei den nächsten Schüsseln, diese blauen Schüssel extrem schwer. Das sind ganz rund, die sind offen, die sind aber extrem schwierig zu halten. Es scheint zu sein, als wären da einige ganz kleine Griffe hineinschaut, so 3 oder 4 cm große, die man nicht ganz erkennen kann. So wie es ausschaut, auch die Fußposition immer sehr hoch und ganz dynamisch beide Züge. Hinauf zu den nächsten blauen Griffen mit den scharfen Elementen drinnen, wo auch wieder ganz außen, zwar kein Schatz draußen, aber ich glaube, da müssen die runden Beine hin. Also da wird die ganze Spannung noch einmal abgefangen oder abverlangt, schaut nach sehr offenen Bewegungen aus. Also Bewegungen, die man nie abschließen kann, sondern immer nur so Watschen weitergehen kann. Links, rechts, Watsch, Watsch, Watsch. Und dann oben die letzten grünen Bewegungen, das schaut mir persönlich nach einer ganz offenen Bewegung, einer drehenden Bewegung mit dem Strom zum Griff aus. Ganz oben der letzte Griff dann der Griff, den man halten muss, ein Horn, von dem man auslässt, auf die letzte Stimme einhängen.
So guys, I've been heard there has been some technical issues. I think we're back on now. But apologies about that. Me and Quinn were speaking to nothingness. Apologies to everyone who wondered what was going on. So we are back. Apologies for the technical incidences. The women's comp finished earlier on. The top 3 have been decided, and we'll see those winners later on. But this is the men's final. Dimitri Voigt will come out. Voigt will come out first from Switzerland. I say Homer will be out last. So that is our men's list. I'm here with Quinn Mason in the commentary box. Now, Quinn, we know the women's comp got cut off a little bit before the end, but the sun for sure playing a difference in that route for the women.
Yeah, we're not going to see too much sun on the wall for the men, but those holds have still been baking in the sun for a good few hours before this. It's nice that the sun has gone away now and temperatures are dropping, which will help the holds feel a bit better, but there might be a few lasting effects felt on some of those bigger slopey features we see on this climb.
You can see the clouds starting to build in the background. It's been so hot here, it feels like a thunderstorm must come at any moment. It's got that atmosphere around Innsbruck at the moment. It gets a bit electric when it's like this. So we're a couple of minutes away from the men coming out. They're meant to start in precisely 2 minutes. And there's some interesting holds up there for the men. These volumes you can see, that's the starting holds. Comes up into a very complicated volume section. All underneath, lots of underclings. Hard to read this, isn't it?
Yeah, anytime a section of the wall gets as steep as this section we're seeing right now, it can be really hard to navigate. You get a bit disoriented in terms of even which direction is up and down. So adding these volumes will definitely be an extra challenge for these men to navigate.
And you can see the middle teal hold there is shiny. That's because it's dual text. Now there is a screw-on in that dual text. We'll chat about that when the men get to it. But at the end of this route, I still haven't quite worked out how it goes. High right foot, do you think?
Yeah, either that or just a really big jump to the finish here. We saw a big jump earlier in the men's semifinal climb, so we know that these guys are capable of powering it out towards the end of a long lead climb. But this is definitely looking like a very hard climb, but it'll be necessary to separate out these strong men.
Exactly, and we chatted for the women that these, in our head, you see university as perhaps being amateurs. No, not at all. I mean, we have top 10 IFSC athletes, we have medal-winning athletes here. This really is athletes at the pinnacle of their skills. So it's been good so far, we've enjoyed it, and now I think, as the ever continuously dramatic music continues, Dimitri walks onto the stage to compete in the finals.
The first 3 athletes we'll see are from our European contingent, and then from then on out, it is all Japanese climbers dominating this final.
Yeah, they really have dominated so far proceedings. So Dimitri has been climbing for a while. 38th was his last competition in the Arco Continental Cup, and that was for lead. Chamonix was his last World Cup where he came 45th, so he's got some talent.
Interesting to see a few different jerseys here at this event. Used to seeing the red, the Swiss in red jerseys. Almost didn't recognize at first.
Yeah, you're so right. The Spanish jersey looks like the Swiss jersey. I keep getting confused. I'm glad you said that. It's not just me. So Team Switzerland, though, will be cheering on Dimitri as he heads upwards. And the bottom half of the routes in the semis and these finals doesn't appear to be too difficult at the moment. Again, that resting position, that's just such a classic. That's become more and more of a classic pose.
Yeah, and Dimitri is about to enter this next super steep section where it seems like the route might get a bit more complex.
Yeah, he almost has to climb out all the way around that volume, and it adds such almost a meter to the wall itself, and you can see how far he's having to go backwards. Locks on underneath. It's going to feel quite exposed up there. Low down on the wall as well, a little bit scary. Up he goes, oh, nearly drops the crimp as well. Drags the heel in.
So cool to watch Dimitri grab that hold with almost just 2 fingers and kind of reel it back in.
Oh, he's knee barring on a dual text. This has become next level. I mean, look, we were speaking about how dual text was originally designed to be impossible, right, to hold on to, and now it's a feature.
Yeah, now you're getting forced to use the dual text part of a hold on a climb.
Horrible. Well, Dimitri is doing well, though. He's figured it out. And again, though, it kicks back right where you don't want it to. And once he gets stood up on this, he might have an opportunity to rest a little bit.
Might have a bit of an issue getting back in to get this quick draw, but we'll see. Hopefully he's able to solve it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have to clip it. So he's gone past it, that's okay. There will be a hold, and I'm not sure exactly which number it is here, but there'll be a hold, but you can't go any further. It's likely to be the next one.
Sometimes you'll see athletes use their arms or legs to start a quick draw swinging so that they can catch it once it's on its swing close to them. But it'll be interesting to see what his tactic is here. That quick draw is definitely a little further away than you'd want it to be.
Yeah, you can see he was thinking about going up with the right hand and then leaning out to it, but it's nowhere near good enough to do that. And he's having to do this physical sequence, which is basically to down climb this move. Oh, this is going to be so physical. This is sapping him because he can't get back into it. I dream nightmares like this.
Yeah, this kind of is your worst nightmare as a lead climber. He's looking pretty fresh on this hold right now, but he can't really keep going unless he's able to figure out a way to get this quick draw clipped.
I mean, how much is he angry at himself, do you think, right now? Does he think he's made a mistake, or is it just one of those things that happens? I mean, he must be frustrated because he's having to go all the way back. And there, he's trying to kick it. I think he's coming off soon here, unless he can work something out.
Yeah.
So, you can see what he's thinking. Is he going to go for points now? Has he abandoned this quick draw? I think he has. Or is he going to try to lean down and clip it?
Wow, this would be a pretty heroic way to clip this quick draw. Looking like in a decent position now, but still far away from that quick draw.
I am rooting for Dimitri right now. I really want him to get this in. Come on, Dimitri. Right, leaning down. Arms trying to get some friction. He's reached the draw. Starts it swinging. Oh, that's the drop it.
Really making our palms sweaty out here.
Come on, Dimitri. Get it in, mate. It's so close.
Oh my gosh. This is...
Oh, I've had to almost stop commentating with this one. I'm looking between my fingers. I know it's totally safe, of course, but I want him to get it in. Yes, and he does.
The crowd kind of going wild for him. That was such a journey to get that done.
That was better than topping out, I tell you. But he has got a time issue now. He's got 1:46 to go. He's going to have to rest back in that position. Oof. Tough ask here for Dimitri. Yeah, he's going to have to move through this next section. I mean, and it's also pinchy as well, so his forearms were gone before they might be in a minute. Right, he stands up. That next hold that looks like a hold is not a hold, it's a bolt cover. So he can't use that, but gets the next clip, right.
That one looked a little bit easier than the last one. Hopefully he'll be able to find a bit more of a rhythm again, moving into this next section of the climb where the wall gets a little bit less steep, but not by all that much.
Yeah, it's going all the way up where the teal volume is. It starts to become more slabby, but yeah, he's got a whole other panel before he gets to that. And of course, it's even more overhanging because the way the route setters have put the volumes in. Oh, we lose him. I think that was inevitable.
With only 45 seconds left on his time, showing you how long Dimitri had to stay on this climb and fight for that quick draw.
Yeah, it all went wrong for him, didn't it?
I'm sure he'll be a little bit disappointed that he wasn't able to clip that quick draw sooner, but I would hope he's proud of his ability to problem solve and fight through this section.
Yeah, he gave me my like heart and mouth moment for ages. I was really getting into that then. And because I tell you why I am, because every single climber has had that moment. Like everyone, I don't care who you are. You know, when you're swinging around, you're getting pumped, you can't reach the quick draw. Oh. So Dimitri put up a great battle there. And then we have our next athlete coming out. So hard to get a reading of the route from that.
We do at least know that that steep section in the middle is powerful and hard.
Yeah. Odd climb. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. It's almost like a sort of Kalimnos Tufa system or something. It just hangs out. So coming out is Molina, or Michael, apparently he likes to be called. And Miguel, apparently someone was asking him his name, he said his name is Mike. I don't know if we can call him Mike. Mikel is written. Should we stick with Mikel? It sounds definitely better. So Mikel chalks up. No. Now, psychologically, again, do you think he thinks that Dimitri was on the wall sending that thing? Because, he must know that it was getting towards the end of the time.
Yeah, I would have actually no idea what Mikel must be thinking. We'll see him start with the rope in his hand to get that quick draw done fast. But yeah, it's always a bit nerve-wracking when the athlete in front of you takes up all their time. But I'm guessing that due to the fact the crowd wasn't too loud for the most part, he'll know that Dimitri didn't get to the top of the climb, but hard to say. It's also sometimes you can tell where a climber got on the climb based off of what quick draws are swinging, but some athletes may choose to not pay attention to that and just focus on themselves.
Yeah, I was told this last year, and since then I can't stop looking at it myself. But sometimes, for example, the quick draws right now are blowing way up the wall because of the breeze, so you can't always see it.
I guess in an indoor venue, that's more of a helpful tactic. But yeah, outside, nature's making it look like Dimitri topped the climb right now with all those quick draws swinging.
So Mikel is powering through here. A bit taller than Dimitri. Different methods through this, but struggling a bit as he gets the heel in to get the crimp. And now, this is where Dimitri started to have a problem. So it'll be interesting to see whether it was something for him or whether it is just a difficult clip. And it looks like it was misread by Dimitri.
Mikel getting that done nicely. Moving on to these big yellow slippers where Dimitri took a bit of a forced rest, but Mikel will maybe just take advantage of a slightly more positive hold on this climb.
So, he's been climbing for a while, but he's only a third of the way up, really. Cuts loose and powers up. So he's got some power to burn that as he lays back. That's our scoreboard. Dimitri will have been passed in a minute on the hold off. Oh, what a resting position there. That is well read by him.
Finding maybe a bit of a knee bar.
It's good. Dual text and sweat is not a good combination. It's all I'm thinking about is how much I'd slide out of that thing. And now the route comes to the left, goes around the corner, changes the perspective again. Such a confusing route, this. There it is, locked in underneath. But it is a good resting position. We saw Dimitri rest a move lower with a heel hook, and it looked quite awkward. Mikel has found a really good position here. He would have got a lot back from this rest.
This next section seems pretty interesting. The blue hold way out left we see there, not scored as a hand hold, likely a toe hook or a heel hook around the corner.
Yeah, because it's tricky, because you have a decision to make here, don't you? You could go left, theoretically, but it's definitely better to go as he's doing. So, let's look for the toe hook. There it is, easy. Yeah, nice sequence through there. Bumping with the left.
Those volumes pushed together to create a very small usable surface. But Mikel making it look easy.
Yeah, he is at the moment. I thought he might be on a final push there, but he doesn't seem to be. And this is the dual text, straight into it, but his fingertips are pressing into that black surface. I bet you it's hot up there. Comes down, chalks up, and you can see his palms left. He'll be wanting to hold the plastic, the frictiony bit, as much as possible, rather than touching that dual text. But he is nearing the end of the route.
Moving out into the last bouldery section. The route probably picks up quite a bit here.
Oh, and it does, yeah, as he came through with the right hand. Fingertips off it.
He was going to a hold that has a small jib on it, but it's not a super positive hold.
So Mikel falls with 2 quick draws to go. Well, 3 with the final one. That was a good effort from him.
Yeah, Mikel was really able to milk the rests down low and get in quite a few moves on this climb. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the field holds up.
Yeah, and he's one of the least experienced athletes we've actually got out here tonight. He's done a bunch of Continental Cups, but last World Cup was a while back. I mean, World Champs, 44th. So he did well there, to 27th with his last straight World Cup back in 2021 in Briançon. So he's been a little bit out of it for a while. So next up is a man who's shared the commentary box with me twice, I think, is Campbell Harrison from Australia. Big character on the scene and lovely to see him back. His dad and potentially his mum was on the live chat earlier, so hopefully they're watching on. Hello if you are. So Campbell will come out. He's had a good competition so far. He'll be looking to transition from this competition into the main lead season.
Yes, Campbell is a very experienced World Cup climber. Competed at the Brixton Boulder World Cup just last weekend and will be competing at the Innsbruck World Cup in just another week here.
Yeah, and although he's qualified through this near the bottom of the finals, he's someone who could make podium.
Yes, experience can really play out in a final round where all the pressure really comes on.
I know he was struggling with a few little injuries during the off-season. I think they're all fixed now. He certainly lived in Innsbruck for a while last year with Corona, meaning he couldn't go back to Australia between events, so this became his second home.
Yeah, we definitely see a few athletes doing that just because this Innsbruck facility is so good. Maybe this kind of feels like a home wall to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a home wall to have. I'm here for 2 weeks and it feels great. I can't even imagine if you're a pro athlete and this is on your doorstep.
It's like a constant playground, just so many hard climbs and really well set climbs for just a commercial climbing gym as well.
So as Campbell's in this position, I want to talk to you about flexibility training. Is it something that you build in to your day-to-day, or is it something that you tend to push?
I think it depends on athletes. I definitely try to stretch a good bit. I found that the difference between flexibility and mobility is a big one. I am pretty flexible, but sometimes I struggle to lift my leg into certain positions, and some people are a bit of the opposite. But a lot of the lead climbers that we'll see are generally decently flexible because it allows you to get into more efficient resting positions.
Yeah, Campbell's rested his way lovely through that. I mean, it's such flowy climbing from Campbell so far.
Yeah, you can really see Campbell's super good at getting his hips over his feet, which will take a little bit of weight off your hands and make it easier to recover and get less pumped as you're moving up this climb.
He crossed his leg over. I haven't seen that as a position. It's quite interesting. There he goes. I've never seen that.
It's actually surprising. It really can take a bit of weight off. And when you can't fit 2 feet on a hold, crossing your leg over kind of gives your body that sensation of having 2 feet on while you're resting.
Honestly, that's brilliant. I want to use that next time. Oh, that's the best thing I've learned all day. Look at that.
You should definitely give it a go if you're watching back home and you like to lead climb, especially on steeper climbs. This is a really great tactic to help get a bit more back on those rests.
I've just taken a photo of that so I can remember. That's brilliant. Well, I've learned something. I hope you back at home enjoyed that moment. So Campbell coming up, and he got that clip that Dimitri had a problem with. Oh, now that looked a bit physical for him.
Jumping to that second yellow sloper was very bold of him. He made it work for sure, but it was maybe a tiny bit worse than he anticipated. Kind of struggled with the move coming off of it.
Yeah, Mikel, this is where he had the rest. Campbell hasn't found or hasn't seen, can't use that knee bar, but it's under there. There, now he's got the knee, but only right on the edge of it.
Kind of a slightly different knee bar position. But
yeah, Mikel just seemed to lock it in, didn't he? I don't know what it was, it's his exact height, but he was cruising up there, and I think that allowed him to get so much back for that top section.
Campbell still seems to be doing a good job of resting here, though. Took a quick glance down, probably to look at the clock and check his time. Now he's off into this next section, using that hold as a hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's potentially there, isn't it? But that was so physical. Although it didn't look like it took a lot out of him doing that. He just went through it quite quick. Campbell nearing the high point now, but arms starting to come backwards as the elbows come up. You can see he's getting tired, locks in the heel. I think he might be on the last burn here, but we know that this hold, oh, he's missed it completely and then bumps into it.
Giving us a really good fight here.
Oh, finally slipping. I think the slip was more from fatigue than just the slip. And he looks at the scoreboard straight away to keep an eye on that, and we'll see that he's moved into second place.
Not sure he'll be quite satisfied with that performance, but that was still a really awesome fight out of him.
Yeah, he did a couple of decisions. That was one of them, that big move out left, which I think he might look back and regret that a little bit, because although he didn't look tired at the time, you could see it in his face. It took a bit out of him.
Yeah, this climb is quite powerful, and I think trying to avoid as many of those powerful moves as possible will help with this upper section where the climbing seems to really pick up again.
Now, you know, in bouldering, when we see people looking at the routes together, they tend to do the same beta often. Campbell, I wonder if he's chatted with anyone about that. I wonder if we're about to see anyone else coming to that left, because certainly Dimitri didn't, Mikel didn't. Well, sorry, Dimitri didn't get there, but Mikel didn't. Interesting. That light on the screen, by the way, is being shined by Reini, who's in charge of the gym, and someone gave him a toy. And it's very useful, I think. I can't understand German, but I think he's telling the crowd about that high point. So if you speak German, do let me know in the chat. Someone said that the guy speaking German is hilarious, apparently.
We're missing out on a comedy show here, I guess.
What are we talking about? We're hilarious. It's our little box. We don't know if anyone's laughing, that's the difference. Let us know if you're laughing back at home. So the Fisu World University Champs, that is the women's. Apologies again for the cutout, but Anoha coming in first place there. Started last up, we're back. Oh, this is the men's. So Molina, first position. Mikel, I should say. Campbell, we've just watched some time. Then Dimitri has such a nightmare with that quick draw in third. So we've only had 3 athletes going slower than the women's comp. So Sota Amagasa comes out. Someone's name who I've said a lot over the last couple of years. He was 21st in Moscow, 20th in Briançon for his last pure lead comp. Back for this university, and the university games, it's a good way for these athletes to get a bit of extra comp practice, isn't it?
Yeah, Sota is one of those athletes who we saw quite a bit on the youth circuit and has transitioned into the senior circuit as well, just has a few less comps under his name at the moment. So the university games is a great way for him to just get a bit more experience on the international stage. Being in a final on the international stage is a rare experience, so the more of those you get to do, the better.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's registered for next week, but if he is, this would be a great way into that.
Yeah, it's interesting that we have some overlap in between the competitions happening here, the University World Games and the IFSC World Cup. Not all athletes are crossing over between the two, but we definitely have a few, and it's cool to see a very elite field mixed in with a few names that we aren't as familiar with.
Yeah, it's been good to learn new athletes, new styles, and also to see some who might be overshadowed by others coming to the forward. Sota, I think, might be one of those, because that Japanese team is so strong. You tend to get lost in how strong they all are.
Yeah, we got to see it a bit last weekend at the Brixton World Cup with 2 female athletes, Sarika and Anon, making the boulder final. Both of them, it was their first final, and both had very few World Cup starts under their name. Just goes to show how strong the Japanese team is and how many athletes they have back home who probably have the potential to do well on the international circuit, but we just haven't seen them yet.
So Sota is on the end of the big volumes, similar to rest of Dimitri. We know, of course, there might be a better one coming up, but it's difficult to say there might be a better one, because it seems to be one of those that is all about body shape, whether you can get it in or not. But if you were to rest, I mean, if I was an athlete coming to that moment, I would think that was the rest.
Yeah. You would think that maybe this hold that seems to be a bit more positive is the rest, and then it seems like if you do a few more moves, then maybe you hit the next hold and you're like, oh, this could be maybe even better rest, but that's not a bad surprise to have as an athlete. We're definitely seeing the men take a bit more time on this wall than the women did just because of this resting position that they're given here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we know time isn't a factor, so if he gets a double rest, it's not the end of the world, is it?
Yeah, Sota moved quite quickly through the bottom section of this climb, so he's got plenty of time to chill a bit before heading into this head wall where the climbing just does not seem to slow down for pretty much until the top of the wall.
Yeah, and he had to juggle with that match. Jumps straight up, locks the toe in, so he read it correctly. And they say correctly because it wasn't counted as a handhold, so it really wasn't expected to be used by the judges.
Going to clip there and realizing he's still a little bit further away from the clip. But some of the quick draws are a bit more spread out here in competition because the climbs wander the walls a bit more. Sometimes you'll get larger runouts and sometimes you'll get quick draws that are really close all of a sudden. Went to clip there, but found that there wasn't a quick draw to clip.
Do you ever get scared on a lead route? Does it just not come into your head?
I think that if I had been in Dimitri's position earlier, having climbed above my quick draw and not knowing how to clip it, I might get a bit of fear, but other than that, you're really just in the zone when you're competing on a lead route like this. Even if you experience some fear in training, for the most part, you're just kind of in your own world fighting against the wall here. And belayers at these events tend to be quite skilled.
Yeah, they are pretty good. That's a job I would hate to have, I tell you.
My parents are volunteer belayers at all of our national events, and they are such nerds about it. It's fun to listen to.
Right, oh, that was the high point previously, and he also can't make it work. Had to snatch for it.
Really exploding out of that position there, which it would have been hard to catch that hold. Maybe we'll get a close-up of it again, but it's just a small screw-on into that blue and black volume up there. The volume itself is not too positive without something there, and the hold that he was going for is pretty small and it's not tick marked, so I'm not sure that the athletes can really see what they're going for from below.
Yeah, he climbed so smoothly through the rest of it. You didn't really see him fighting necessarily.
Yeah, it kind of went from 0 to 100 really quick from him, but some athletes just kind of climb like that. They look really good until all of a sudden they're popping off the wall.
That's usually when I say they're looking really good. That's usually the moment they choose to fall off.
Commentator's curse is a tough one for lead climbing in particular.
That really is. It's a huge responsibility being here. You'll understand the more you get to be on the mic. In the audience, you could see on that shot before. This is probably the busiest we've seen the Klettercentrum in a couple of days.
Yeah, it's cool to see the crowd really turn out for this lead final. No Austrians in the men's final, but we saw Matea earlier in the women's final. She definitely had the home crowd behind her. But Sota was the first of our 5 Japanese athletes in the final, the next one being Ryoe from also on the Japanese team.
Yeah, from now on, just Japanese athletes will be fighting it out. And Ryoe came second in the Asian Youth Champs. That was his last comp, but that was 2019. So another one who's been out of the game for a while. The sun now has completely gone for the arena, and it is much nicer for all the athletes competing. The women had to climb in the full sun at the beginning. So Ryoe determined off the deck there.
A lot of athletes start with a pretty bouncy climbing style in the beginning of a lead route. The way that you start a lead climb can really set the standard for how you're going to climb the rest of it. So it's nice to start with a pep in your step and some confidence as you work through the beginning moves.
This is great, Quinn. I'm getting some real tips. I've learned 3 things during this live stream. That's such a good point. I've never thought about that. Got to approach it in the right way, haven't you?
It's the same concept behind like smiling. You kind of trick your brain into like, okay, I'm feeling good. You work through those beginning quick draws pretty fast, and then hopefully you just keep the same feeling for the most of the sport climb.
Are you revealing Natalia's tactic there?
Maybe. I'll try to keep the secrets under lock.
Anyway, into the bottom of this. We thought it would maybe be harder for the athletes, but I think it's just a case of pushing through, hoping the holds will be there.
Yeah, these might have been navigating the volumes well. Maybe a bit of hesitation from a few of them. Doing that maybe different from what we saw.
Yeah, a little.
But making it work.
He's got a knee bar there as well. But I think that's dual text again. His foot obviously is on the screw on, so. But he's the perfect height for that. Just has it locked in underneath. Will he make the quick draw mistake? I don't think so. I want to go back and watch Dimitri do that again because I can't remember his decision making that made him go past it.
Yeah, I wonder if it was a discomfort thing or if he was just nice swing. Or, I mean, sometimes you can just get a bit too in the flow of a lead climb and then you all of a sudden are past a quick draw.
He held a big swing there. He's found the first 2 real rests coming up. This is one of them, but it's fairly awkward. You can see in cut hold. It's the obvious jug of the route that he's on now.
Resting with your feet above your head is not generally the easiest, but these guys have been making it look pretty chill.
Almost looks bat hangable, doesn't it? I don't think it is quite. Yeah, his heels are in there, but it's not the greatest position.
Even if you're good at heel hooks, this position is still mostly on your arms.
So what's he waiting for now? Is it a feeling, or is he timing it in his head? How does he know when to go?
I think sometimes it is a feeling. Sometimes it's kind of just a way to take a second, reset the mind, less about the physical aspect. If he had looked maybe a bit more fatigued from the bottom section, I would have said it was for the physical aspect. But Rio made that bottom section look pretty easy. So maybe just preparing, looking up at the next few holds here, figuring out what he's going to do.
Yeah, and a long look out to the left. And looked for a second like he was about to dyno all the way up there, but I think he was just checking it out. So obviously the holds do go right, but yeah, if you've misread that blue hold, it suddenly might seem like a good idea. So let's see, Campbell jumped left after this pinch. He's doing this nasty match once again. That's what he wants. He's going to go for the bump. I think he is. Bumps up again, yep.
These yellow holds are kind of deceptively bad. They don't quite curl back as much as you want them to.
Oh, without the toe hook, that was a nasty move. Now he locks it in. Oh, that would have taken some energy to hold that crimp, that slopey crimp, and yeah, I think he's overcooked it there.
Wow. Doing his best to really make sure he got that plus there, launching towards that teal and black volume.
Oh, I can feel the pump. Look at those veins standing on his arm.
Yeah, sometimes you fall with a plus because you just really weren't going to make the next move and you put in all your effort just to get your momentum up to that next hold.
That was that big jump. I thought he might have lost a foot, but no, he just committed to the swing, came back and then rested for a long time in that position. And he couldn't get the best of rest. He did rest again here, but it was never comfortable. Even without the knee bar in, he didn't find a brilliant position.
Wow, and such a big leap up to that hold.
He's still looking up, trying to work it out.
Looking definitely quite pumped.
Oh.
I think we can all relate to that feeling there.
Yeah, I really can. Right, so he waves, just about managing a wave anyway to the crowd. He will leave us, and we've got 3 left. Women's comp was finished by now. The men's taking longer because they were on the wall longer. The women falling in the bottom half mainly. So, Hidemasa Nishida will be out next. That is a lighting effect on the wall. A bit like water, doesn't it? Quite like it.
Maybe a bit of a calming effect.
Right, we're waiting, and there he is. Hidemasa. Looking calm at the moment. The rope being kept in that bowl behind him, the belair tied on and ready.
fun to see this moment of the athletes having one last moment before they come out to compete.
Do you give yourself a little talk at that personally? What do you say to yourself in those moments? Are you thinking anything?
I'm definitely thinking a lot of things. I'm not sure how coherent any of those thoughts are, but just some positive thoughts. Generally trying to go over the route a little bit in my mind and then taking a second once I actually step out here and sequencing. Generally, I try to sequence all the way to the top of the climb, but sometimes that's not an option when you're on a stage like this and the wall is so overhanging.
So you will have gone back and written it down, or do you draw a picture?
I actually draw a picture of the climb after I go out for the route preview. Some athletes actually prefer to almost forget the climb and just kind of let their instincts take over in the moment, but it really depends. It's hard to remember a climb when you only get a few minutes to sequence it, and then you go back. And Hidemasa is climbing pretty late in this final, so he's had more time to potentially forget what the climb looked like.
Yeah, and I imagine if you write the wrong thing down or draw the wrong thing, that can mess you up as well.
Yeah, often it's best not to get too fixed on what you saw in the route preview and let your climbing instincts take over.
Hidemasa is looking a bit hesitant down low. Doesn't want to fall early, of course, but you were talking about starts, and if we compare the previous athlete to him, it's a much more hesitant one.
Yeah, some people say that lead climbing is mentally easier in terms of competing because you can just kind of turn your brain off and climb, but sometimes when your brain doesn't turn off and you're struggling to make decisions, the mental aspect can be quite difficult.
So, high toe, and now you'd hope once this kicks back and gets a bit more overhanging, maybe he'll get into his flow, because he doesn't appear to be there yet. But it might be his style. Haven't seen too much of him in past comps. And he's got a good history. He won the Arco Youth Championship in 2019.
One of those athletes who's had success in youth, and the University Games is a good step in transitioning onto that senior circuit.
Yeah, that step up from youth gets talked about a lot, but I mean, your current Airbnb, well, yourself, 19, like you are in that transition period. How difficult is it?
Yeah, it's such an interesting transition. I'm currently deciding whether to compete in the youth circuit as it's my last year, but having qualified for the Senior World Cup circuit, that's maybe taking priority.
Oh, cutting loose like his teammate, and now straight through, but he's going to drop down to that rest. I think the Japanese athletes having had that discussion about where they're going to rest together. Look at, sorry, is that his shoe coming loose? Look at the rubber peeling off the top of it.
Yeah, it seems like it might be. Sometimes if you toe hook too much in a shoe, the rubber can start to peel back. Hopefully that won't be an issue for the left toe hook that we've seen higher on this climb.
Yeah, he had a good look at it then.
Rocking up over this yellow sloper, showing off some hip flexibility.
Yeah, and look at this. That's a great resting position. Only one really to have found that.
Yeah, definitely a bit different from what we've seen. But then choosing not to stay there for too long.
Yeah, unless he's going to drop back down, because it looks so comfortable that you'd think he'd spend seconds there just resting, but straight on.
Onto this bouldery section of the climb.
Maybe he's just not pumped. Let's see. Oh, he was thinking about going for the Campbell jump onto the left hand, thought better of it. It's quite far away and blind. And he'll get the toe, but goes up left. Interesting beat it. But is he just wrong-handed himself? That is such a good shot to show how overhanging this wall is. Look at that.
Yeah, these athletes are able to chalk up and rest. It's very impressive. Hidemasa looking strong, heading into this physical section.
Yeah, he sorted out the hands now. I haven't seen anyone really get much further than this. That last move up to the blue, from the turquoise to the blue, is where we've lost Amagasa and Kel. 36 plus, same score, but Sota Amagasa is in the lead due to countback.
Inching towards that high point, being the dark blue hold with the black shiny dual texture.
Yeah, so just by the university sign on the wall.
I'll tell you what, he's looking good. He has such a slow, shaky start to it. It could just be the way he climbs. I mean, I think of Alexandra Totkova, who always looks like she's falling off every move, and you can't always make an assumption from the athletes.
Yeah, Hidemasa has definitely seemed to have found a much better flow, making the high point now on this climb.
Yeah, it's almost like as it got harder, he got better here. So Hidemasa on the last section before the top we haven't worked out yet.
The top seems to be guarded by a potentially quite large jump to the finish hold. He's still got a few moves to go before he'll reach that potential jump.
Yeah, and he's stretching way out and resting. He's got a minute 15. He's timed this pretty well. He can launch and go whenever he's ready. Right, here he goes. Starts to get through. How good would it seems to be a top, but there are some crimps coming up. Oh, he's having a feel of them, doesn't like any of them. Settles with the left. Awkward position to crimp in.
Making it work though. Good look at how small those crimps were for just a second there.
Yeah, look at that. That is high up on an overhanging wall. It does get slabbier up here, but by this point your fingers, your forearms are fried. He's a couple of moves off.
So impressive to be holding these holds 40 moves into a very hard sport climb.
Right, how's this going to work though? He's going to have to bump that left hand out, which he does. Oh, we lose him eventually on that bump. It looks so awkward to go.
Got a bit of a look there at that top finish hold. Hidemasa just 2 moves away.
Yeah, this was down low where he seemed to get himself wrong-handed a little bit, but he sorted it out, got the heel in, and then from then on found a third, fourth rest stretched out. These crimps started to be nasty, but he dealt with it. And then this is the final move, left hand. It's a big bump, one of those moves that are very possible when you're fresh, but at that point, it's a lot to ask.
That hold he was going for definitely doesn't look too positive.
So our new leader is on stage. He'll have seen that. Ao Yurikusa is up next.
Ao, one of 2 climbers to top the semi-final climb. The semi-final climb was quite a difficult one. It also had a big leap towards the top of the wall that Ao was able to get done in order to top the climb. We'll see if he's able to get this leap at the top of the climb done as well, but it's quite a journey to get there. So.
Yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong on the way. Rests that can be missed. But I don't think I've seen a route that's interesting quite a while, actually. To watch almost all the men do it in a different way is quite unusual. I approve. I like it. It's a good one.
Yes, the climbs this weekend or this week, I should say, have been so well set. Really great separation in the fields. And some tops, not all climbs have been topped. So hopefully we'll see this one get a top by the end of the night.
So here he is. Ao walks on to the stage. That's a great walk from the back there. You can hear the crowd when you're warming up. There's a tent for the athletes. Then they get into that corridor that goes over a little built bridge. And our commentary box is up there. You can see the grey building next to the blue lights. That's where me and Quinn are. That's where we'll be all week. Or I'll be all week. So, launching into it.
Ao has experience in finals. Made the final at the Crown World Cup last year. A familiar stage for him.
So big bumps up to start with, and then double heels in, locks it, comes up with the left, and he'll find a resting point before this. This has become one of the sections of route that it looks so much fun to climb, doesn't it?
Yeah, throwing those heels on left and right. Looks like it builds a nice flow heading into the steep section of the climb.
Yeah, quite outdoorsy in the way it does that. Imagining some layers of rock going up over your head. It's one of those styles.
Yeah, those blue features that Ao just climbed through were also featured on the women's climb. And they really force a lot of heel hooks and techie maneuvers to climb around them.
Right, so he's getting himself set up, bumps up to that crimp. We saw someone, I can't remember who it was, Dimitri, I think, popping off that with a few fingers. And he's a couple of moves away from the rest. So he gets the knee locked in, and I think that's more awkward than it looks, because it looks like it should be brilliant. Makes that awkward clip, and now he'll come into the rest, and this is where, if he's following the rest of the beater from Team Japan, he'll rest here with high heels, which he does straight away. So the clock ticks down. 4:17 is his limit.
Plenty of time to get this climb done, but we'll likely see I'll take a few minutes to rest on this hold and maybe rest again in a few more moves.
Oh, but look, quite fairly quickly through it to the slopers. That's the angle of that slope, and it's a good shot because we haven't really seen it before.
Not a super grippy texture on those holds either.
Yeah, and they're not cleaned like they are in the semi-finals. Semi-finals halfway through, they're given a clean, but for the finals, we just crack on through. So by the end of it, some of them do get all gummed up with chalk.
Moving through those rests very quickly, though, not choosing to take too much time.
Yeah. It's always interesting when an athlete does that, whether it's a potential mistake later on or whether sometimes it's best to keep moving. I remember Adam Ondra telling me that climbing's about going up. Don't rest if you're not tired. And he's got a point, but then, you know, you might go through a rest that you should have used, so route reading becomes really important.
Seems like not taking the rest was the right decision for Ao as he moves into this section where we've lost a few athletes prior. Looking pretty chill.
Look at the pinch. Oh, loses it. The pinch on the left hand. It's the first time we got to see these moves.
Yeah, going to that hold with a different hand than what we've seen, but maybe he'll be able to make it work.
Yeah, he's certainly hunting for it. Remember, it is dual text. He's looking for a heel, finding a better position to rest. And this is where he regrets those lack of rest and comes down.
Bit of a sequencing error, maybe a bit of disappointment. Ao was looking super fresh until going to that dual text dish with the right hand where most athletes opted for the left hand.
Yeah, this was the rest he did take. And then he moved through from there quickly, really athletic through the jumps. Campbell's still the only one sticking in that left hand. I'll have to have a chat with him about that because it was a really cool move in hindsight, that too. Up with the right. So, final athlete will come on stage. Taisei Homa. Can he make a difference to our top three, the podium places?
Taisei has not fallen on a sport climb or elite climb in this competition so far. Topped both qualifiers and the semi-final climb. He'll be looking to make that 4 climbs topped in this competition.
Yeah, it would be good to see a top on this. I hate it when a route is left on top.
Especially when we know it's possible to get at least really close to the finish hold.
So Taisei, can he do it? He's the last athlete out here this evening. The award ceremony is after this, so do stick around if you want to celebrate with the athletes. Tomorrow we get a bit of a break from live streaming. It's the qualification for the bouldering, and then the next day, similar to today, semi-finals and finals all at once.
It'll be a long weekend or long week for those athletes who are competing in both lead and bouldering. There is a pretty good number of athletes competing in both disciplines, but not all. Some have specialized in either lead or boulder.
Yeah, I remember the World Championships when it was days on end of climbing and had to do combine and lead and boulder. By the end of it, you know, athletes just shredded, completely shredded.
Yeah, it's so impressive to watch athletes compete multiple days on. In most cases, you probably wouldn't even know.
Yeah, what did you tell me about Natalia the other day? She had brilliant skin, I think you said.
Yeah, she in general has quite good skin, doesn't really have to deal with her skin bleeding ever. And that can definitely be super helpful when you're competing in a competition like this and you might be 4 days on and up to 6 rounds of competition. or maybe even more if you're still speed climbing.
Oh, yeah, true.
Taking a quick look before hopping on this climb.
Yeah, it's been a while since he checked that out. We had the whole women's comp and all of the men to get through. Taisei off to a good start then. Yeah, that ability to remember these sequences. I mean, he had a look at it. He didn't have that long a look at it.
It's a fun angle here. Get to see that woman start hold from earlier.
I like it when cameramen get a little bit artsy out there. Framing the shots beautifully. Thank you, guys. So slow and steady to begin with. No point overcooking it right at the beginning. A left heel and a right toe hook. Techie climbing, double heels.
Yeah, the footwork, a very essential part of this low sequence.
Yeah, it's one of those sequences where I think you could get through it kind of regardless, but if you manage to get those heels in position, you're going to be way fresher.
Yeah, it's all about conserving energy through the lower portion of the climb. I'm sure Taisei knows that some people have made it pretty far just based off of time and the crowd cheering. So he'll be looking to make his way up there as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the time we almost reached right to the end. The women's a lot quicker.
Yeah, a lot of athletes using much closer to their allotted 6 minutes of time. No one getting close to really running out of time, but due to this rest that Taisei has just reached, we've seen the climbers take a bit longer on this route.
Been interesting to see another position for resting. He's quite tall, and now he gets the heels in, but again, different with the hands high. He could keep his feet stretched out. So he looks up. Has he seen this potential rest? It's a good one. He's got the height to get this knee bar as well if he can spot it. It's a good shakeout regardless of what he does with his knees.
Choosing to move through it pretty fast though.
Well, he has perhaps gambled on endurance here. Let's see if it pays off. Our final athlete of this evening gets the toe hooks. Another different sequence through that.
Looking quite controlled with it though, was able to kind of wrap that lower yellow volume. Cutting loose with his feet, looking very casual.
Yeah, he is. He could be on for something good here, or is he about to drop off, as we chatted about earlier? So you've got to be precise with that left hand and then precise with this right. Oh, he crosses through with the left. Sorry, I mean bumps with the left.
Setting himself up well for this next section.
Yeah, and now he's having to choose to rest longer here. Lots of time on the clock. I know it's not on the screen at the moment. We'll try to keep you updated. 2:48 is the time. I'll let you know if it becomes a problem. So right foot through, left foot. This is the move that got so many. He sticks it.
Moving at such a steady pace here. Hasn't really looked at all panicked yet. This next section definitely picks up in difficulty though. We got a good look at those next small black crimps coming up after these blue and black volumes, and they looked quite small.
Yeah, they do, and he knows it as well. He's resting. He's going to have to start pulling hard here on the final part of the route. Couple of quick draws to go. Here's the top. Right, let's see this happen. Couple of minutes left. Time, not a worry. 2 minutes on the clock.
Bearing down on these.
Oh, fires off with the right. I mean, that is a slip for sure there. That's not a fatigue moment.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate slip from Taisei. That slip there will put him into second position. Still on the podium. Maybe had a bit more left in the tank though. Would have been fun to see him fight for the top hold on this climb.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said it was a slip because it just didn't seem like he was doing that thing where you're fighting for the hold. It just looked like he fired off it.
it looked like he bared down really hard on those crimps and just skin was maybe a little too dry and slipped right off.
I mean, humidity, mate, when no one's really touched those apart from one person. So, and you know, as the sun starts to set, it has become a bit more humid. That could have done it. But anyway, Taisei comes into second position. He will have to settle for silver. Maybe he could have got more on another day. But today, that's where it's at for him.
We will see a Japanese sweep of this podium.
Yeah, so Hidemasa Nishida in first place. We just saw him, Taisei Homa. Oh, there we go, on screen in second, and Sota Amagasa in third place. 36 to 43. That's a spread in numbers for the men. And just want to give another shout out to Dimitri for having a crazy battle with a quick draw.
Yeah, such an impressive clip. It's pretty common to see a climber climb past the quick draw and not be able to get it done. Really cool to see him fight and stay on the wall for almost his entire allotted time trying to get that quick draw done down low.
Right, guys, well, we are going to wait for the podium to be built, and in the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye to Quinn because she's got another life outside of this commentary box, it turns out. So, Quinn, thank you so much for commenting once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hopefully you guys tune in for the rest of the action at the University Games. It's going to be fun to see the climbers attack this bouldering wall in the right corner of your screen starting tomorrow.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to see you in action next week. Go on, let us. Which disciplines are you doing next week?
I'll be competing in lead and boulder at the IFSC World Cup, and there's also a paraclimbing World Cup happening, so plenty of action to tune into in the next week.
Absolutely, it's going to be good. Well, Quinn, I'll say goodbye. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.
Dieses Durchstehens, da passiert immer oben, ja, auch ein Fehler. Das habe ich auch den Eindruck gehabt, dass er dann oben auf dem blauen Bullen dann fast sicher war, ich hole jetzt, das mache ich jetzt. Und auf einmal geht diese Konzentration weg oder diese komplette Spannung, dann warst du irgendwo locker und dann geschickt. Und da ist wirklich raus.
Right, so guys, so we are going to wait for this podium to be built. Thank you to Quinn. She's now gone. And I've got guests coming all the rest of the week in the commentary box, so looking forward to that. So we'll just wait now for the men's podium to be built. Well, it's built. We'll wait for whatever goes on during podium times to go on. If you are on the live chat, do come and say hello. Let me know with your favourite moment from that comp, if you watched it. Was it Dimitri's clip? Might be my favourite, so I can remember. Was it Campbell's double leg resting technique? So let's have a look at the top three from this evening's final. Well, that was our top three, and that's a beautiful mountain in the background. The sun is starting to set now, creating that lovely purple light over. What a beautiful shot that is. So often here, it's so bright, the mountains tend to get blown out on our cameras, and that's what we get to see here in Innsbruck. It's a special place to hang out, a special place to go climbing, and a pretty wonderful wall that hosts us. So do stay with us if you want to watch the athletes get their trophy, built by a local university, or Austrian university. We're in Austria, local university.
certainly good to show the athletes your appreciation. Plus you get to see some more replays along the way, so stick with us. Thank you again to Quinn Mason in the commentary box. Don't give her a follow on social media if you haven't already. Up and coming athlete. I think you'd agree with me, pretty good at the commentary lark as well. So Innsbruck is hosting the Fisu University Championship this week. Next week is the IFSC event. If you turned on thinking this is an IFSC event, it's not quite, although there are elements of that. Next week is the main World Cups, where paraclimbing, lead, speed and boulder all take place at the same time. I'm hoping my voice will survive. I'm sure it will. I've been gargling honey and stuff. But I'll be with you all next week, having some athletes along the way joining me in the commentary box. Athletes and experts. We'll run from next Wednesday onwards all the way till the Sunday. And it's interesting watching the teams filling in to both the gym and Austria at the moment. There's a mountain bike event going on as well. Let's all go here in Innsbruck. Summer of fun. Should have bought my paraglider. Regret it massively. So our podium's got lights now. That's a first step. You're asking me what day is the paraclimbing happening? It's a good question. And one I should know. It happens early on in the week, but I haven't really checked the schedule on that yet. I need a assistant, please. Usually towards the beginning of the week, if I remember rightly. And I do love the paraclimbing. If you haven't seen a paraclimbing competition, you have to go and watch one. Seriously, it's so good. I think it's one of my favourites to commentate on. People are lovely. Climbing is spectacular. And it really puts you in your place, I tell you, when you watch those guys. The boulders you can see on the right have been set up since the semi-finals. And that is our crowd, very educated crowd here in the Kletterzentrum, as there would be. One of the best climbing walls in the world. Andy Goldstein in the background, back left of your screen. Some big names here watching, taking part, because all the teams start to roll in, and some of them taking the experience. Kids, new next generation there. Who knows? Maybe they'll be up on the wall one day. They'll have to wheel me into the commentary box by then. There we go. Future gold medalist right there. You can tell. Grip strength. Look at the grip strength on that chair. That was our wall. That was what was in action today. The route setters get to play with some lovely holds here in the Kletterzentrum. They get the full range. So if you're wondering what's going on, we are waiting for the podium to be prepared, and I think we're pretty close. So our crowd stays with us. Hope you're staying with us as well. If you want to hear me trying to fill the airwaves, then that's what we're going to do here today. I'm going to talk about lots of things. But it was a great competition here. The women's a much more difficult routine than the men's, stopping around about that halfway mark on the wall with a killer move down low. It sent, I think, 4 of our athletes back down to the ground. And we never got to see the top section of the women's route. No one got that.
Ist es soweit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready.
Right, so we are seconds away here. I've been told in my ears that the athletes are ready. The trophies are ready. The dignitaries with flowers, they're ready. So I hope you're ready too. We get to hear some national anthems and see some winners.
Please welcome our host, the athletes.
So here they are out on stage. Our athletes, our medal winners. And there's Melina leading the way, Team USA. Great medal for her. She was one of the favourites coming into this competition, so good to see her achieve her potential.
The medals will be presented by Fisu representative. And the gift will be presented by Dr. the president of Austria.
So there are top three, standing tall and proud. Wonderful effort from all of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, third place and bronze medalist representing.
So our third place finisher from Japan, Ryu Nakagawa, will stand up, get her bronze medal. She was unlucky not to get more. Brilliant from her. Bronze around her neck. Flower received. And that trophy, I'm pretty sure she get that we saw. That lovely story behind it. Oh, no trophy, just the flowers this time. Trophy for the winner. Melina Costanza takes the silver. She's waiting to receive her. There she is on the left-hand side. So Melina gets the silver. Awesome effort from her. As I said, a lot of people were chatting about her being the one to watch. She's proven that true. Noha Kume takes the victory though. Fantastic from her, getting so close. Big smile from Melina. Team America still watching on. It's 9 o'clock Central European time here, so we've still got some light in the stadium. There is Noha Kume. She stands on the top spot and will receive her gold medal here tonight. What an effort from her. Fun route, tricky route for the women. She comes away with victory here tonight. Well, Team Japan continue their dominance on the uni scene as much as on the World Cup scene. That is the confirmation of the results. Gold, silver, bronze. Team Japan get 2 in the top 3. And Melina splitting them with a silver medal. Right, wait for the national anthem of the Fisu Championships. Right, that is the women's podium finished. They will stand and take the photos at the top spot.
This concludes the medal ceremony for sports climbing lead women.
The MC certainly has the same taste for the dramatic as does the DJ. Why not hype it up a bit?
No one quite knows what's going on right now. There we go. Right, top of the podium. Photos, please.
Of the medalists. Here we are. And here we go.
Well deserved. That's wicked to see. So smiles around for the ladies' podium.
And we are now continuing with the men leads men's ceremony.
So the women will lead the stage. Things will reset. I like the way I have to go and recollect the flowers. But they will recollect the flowers, so the men will be preparing behind that curtain. There is this little area they can sit in. It's got some water, got some fruit. Restful place. It is a strange place to be because you can hear the crowds, especially during the World Cup. It builds and builds, and you have to walk out and face it. This wall of sound hits you. So, time for the men. It's been announced.
The athletes and the warriors entering the stage.
Hidemasa Nishida took victory here tonight. Came close to a top, the closest we got to a top. Both the routes for the men and women proving a little too hard for the athletes to send this evening. The heat, the sun might have played a part in that.
Once more, the medals will be presented by K-Line Topper, Fisu representing
Taisei Homa in silver, Sota Amagasa with the bronze. Team Japan taking all 3 spots on the podium here this evening.
third place and bronze medalist representing
So here is Sota Amagasa. Stands up high. Bronze medal for him tonight. Maybe would have been hunting for the silver or the gold. If any one of these 3 could have won it on the night. So Sota Amagasa receives the bronze medal. Taisei Homa, he's next. Keeping very focused. There's a little smile there. It was there. It's coming more now as that medal is hung around his neck, and there it is, the big smile on his face, and so he should have won. Great effort, great work from him. A lot goes into this. Remember, these athletes pretty much competing full-time, a lot of them. Finally, Hidemasa Nishida will get his gold. He's waiting patiently. He's our lead champion here tonight for the Fisu University Championship. Hidemasa stands up. Arms raised as the crowd get behind him. Gold medal around his neck, flowers in his hand. And this will be a University Games for him to remember for a while. Can he build on the momentum now, take it into the senior circuit? Don't bet against that man. Keep an eye on him in future IFSC events. Still haven't worked out what that is. Whether it's I still don't know. Let me know if you know. Is it glass? Is it wine? I'll have to go and ask. Right, let's pause for a sec here as we listen to the national anthem. Fisu.
Please rise for the anthem of International University Sports Federation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it for this evening. So our top 3 Japanese men will leave the stage, and we'll be back very soon for the semi-final and final of bouldering. They will qualify tomorrow. So we'll see you on Friday morning, finals in the evening. My name is Matt Groom. I've been with Quinn Mason in the commentary box. Thank you to the whole team here, and we'll be back with more action from Innsbruck on Friday.
Sports climbing leads for this week and this competition. Guys, thanks for the support, pushing the athletes. I hope to see you tomorrow. We'll start with qualification boulder.